Thank you for joining me today. This is Whitney with the Yoga Art Space Studio, and today we've got a short practice focused all around the feet. We'll start off standing up to help warm up the feet, working on some balance and some strengthening exercises. And from there, we'll transition on to stretches and massages even for our feet to give them some nice love for all that they do for us all the time. So as we're getting started, to warm them up, the first thing we're going to do is articulate through the entire foot. So starting on the right foot, we lift the heel, and then we lift the ball of the foot so that we're pointing, even maybe over pointing, kind of pushing the toes down, and then rub that all the way down. So back to the ball of the foot, and then back to the heel. Starting off super slow like this, left heel up, ball of the foot up, toes gently backwards, and roll down. Not everybody has the range of motion that I do in their feet, so your toes may not be able to do that full thing. If so, just lift up to the tips of the toes and then roll all the way back down. This is helping us to work through the entire flexion of the foot. Oftentimes when our shoes are on, our feet are stuck in one position and they don't really get to move beyond that's just a minute amount of flexing. So now start to pick up the speed here. When one heel sits down, right away the other heel is lifting up and lift. Just going gently back and forth. Feeling how this is working through muscles that maybe we don't always use in our feet. Also strengthening other parts of the legs as well, a little bonus for the calves here. Take 2 more to each foot. Good, now both legs working together. Start with the feet just about hip distance wide, and then both heels lift. This is a calf raise, and both heels lower. Lifting and lowering. And notice how sometimes when you rise up, you've got that perfect control. And other times there's a little catch at the top where your body's like, whoa, did I have the balance still? So notice that. That's helping to strengthen our feet in ways that we don't always make them work, so that our feet realize that point of balance. Let's take 5 more of these. Good, now leaving the left foot down, we're going to take the right leg open into tree pose. This is less about where the right leg comes up to, and it's more about the standing foot balancing. So right foot is absolutely fine, just staying at the ankle. If you want to bump it up to the thigh though, that is fine. We're staying here for a little while to make one foot figure out how to balance on its own. This is also helping to warm it up. If you do this for even just a little while, a good minute or so, you start to feel that foot getting really warm. So that's what we're trying to go for. We're not overworking it. If you start getting sharp pains, that's the sign that you're starting to overwork the plantar fascia on the bottom. So we're not getting to that point, but we're just helping to warm it up. Take one more good breath in. And then drop the right foot down, switching sides right away. So left foot is up. You want to raise it higher, that's fine. And it's absolutely fine if your balance is not quite as steady as me. This is a pose that again helps the feet to figure out that balance. If you notice a baby right before they take their first steps, they might have spent weeks sitting at the coffee table trying to let go of their hands and just feeling that wobbliness. That wobbliness is our brain and our muscles trying to connect to one another so that they figure one another out. They figure out exactly what I need to do to be in good balance. Take another good inhale. Another exhale. And then drop this foot down. From here, one more balance pose just to continue warming that foot up. This is Eagle's pose. The right leg crosses over. If you're doing a full wrap, you bend your standing leg, maybe rock the toes, and right elbow under. So again, this is making that left foot work for a minute. We'll be holding here about 5 more steady breaths. Again, if this is more wobbly than me, there's nothing wrong with that. Completely release and take it to the standing right foot. Left leg winding, left elbow under, and continue those breaths. Trying to get them to slow down even a little bit more. Beautiful. When you unwind here, we're heading into a pose that helps us stretch us out, pyramid pose, and we'll take a little twist to help us work into our feet just a little bit more. So in pyramid pose, start with your right foot forward, your left foot back. You do want both heels down, so if you're stepping so wide that the back foot's lifting, then you need to shorten your stance a little bit. Hips face absolutely forward, even keep the hands on the hips to make sure that they stay forward. As we start to go down, we're not letting the hips tilt off to a weird angle. So staying exactly square to the top of your mat. Keep the legs straight and begin to forward fold at the hips. So when you get maybe about halfway there, that can be a good point to start dropping hands down onto the thigh. Some people can work down to shin. And occasionally there's people that can reach down to the ground or even put a block under each hand. Now pause just as we are for a few more breaths. This helps us to really start to stretch the hamstring out very nicely. So just enjoy that for a few more moments. And then from here, the way that we get into the feet is by rocking our feet as if we're on a rocking horse. And so it's going to be the back heel and the front toes that do the movements. So start off with the back heel lifting. This brings us slightly forward. Lower that back heel and then front toes raise. Back heel, front toes. Going back and forth between those two movements. And notice how both of those options increase the stretch. So when the back heel lifts, that brings our weight even more onto the front leg so that the hamstrings can stretch deeper. When the front toes lift, the calf stretch intensifies. So take 3 more rocking cycles. After the third one, step your back foot forward, bend the knees, and gently roll your spine up to stand. Good, second side, left foot goes forward, right foot is back. Square your hips to the front, even keeping the hands on the hips to make sure that they're there. Start to tilt forward. And then maybe hands can make their way down to the thigh. Maybe down to the shin, or perhaps floor is accessible again. Once more, pause for a few rounds of breath, just enjoying the simple stretch that's going on. And then from here, we can start introducing some of the movements. So back heel lifts. When it comes down, front toes lift. And make this more about the feet than the legs, even though you feel it in the legs. See how much you can go through the range of motion on that foot. And take 3 more cycles to each of these directions. Good. After that 3rd cycle, once again, step the back foot forward. Hang for a nice inhale, a really relaxed exhale, and then bend the knees and roll our way up to stand. From here, spread the legs super wide. Bend the right knee, dropping the hands down close to the right foot. And we're coming into a little low squat right over the right foot. So we're gonna play with a couple of different things here. The first one is the balance, trying to work on the muscles of the foot again. So see if you can take fewer and fewer fingers on the ground. Maybe one hand can come up to the heart. Maybe both hands up to the heart. Pause here for a moment, just enjoying the work. Good, hands down. Switch over to the left side, same thing. Okay, with the hands dropped down, go back over to the right. This time, instead of letting the heel lift, we're trying to work ourselves a little bit wider so that the heel tries to stay down. From trying to stay down, see if you can plant your entire palms on the ground, maybe even trying to lower down closer and closer toward the elbows. What this does is start to stretch that Achilles tendon in the back part of the foot. Good. Plant your hands to help prop you up to switch over to the other side. Again, try to keep the heel flat this time on the left foot. And maybe it's possible to start lowering closer to the elbows. Okay. When we rise back up, plant both hands up at the top of the mat and step back until you're in a nice downward facing dog. And take a moment to walk through the feet. You'll feel this in the legs for sure, but again, make this more about the feet. Try to articulate clear down to feel that Achilles tendon stretch again. Walking for 3 more rounds. And then keep the right heel dropping down. Take the left big toe and second toe, wrapping around the heel, and use that left foot to encourage the right heel down even deeper. Good, switch it out. Left heel is the one getting encouraged downward now. Good, both feet plant. Now walk your hands backwards and then bend the knees into a low squat. So this is another chance to balance on the toes. See if you can squeeze your inner thighs together, kind of connecting your midline into one smooth place. This is another place where you can take fewer and fewer fingers on the ground. Maybe ultimately the hands can come up to the heart. So just notice where you're at. Again, squeeze inner thighs together. That'll help you out. I'm gonna go for 3 more breaths. Good, hands drop down, knees drop down. Keep the toes tucked. Even reach back, perhaps, and grab that pinky toe to include the pinky toe in the stretch. From here, you're going to try to take as much weight backwards onto the heels as possible. This will stretch the entire bottom side of the foot, that plantar fascia that we talked about before. So for some people, that's really intense, so you'll need to take breaks coming forward into a kneeling place and then come back. Some people even just need to keep hands forward because that takes some of the weight off of your feet. If you can stand it, see if you can have your weight entirely upright for 5 slow breaths, starting now. That 5th breath comes to conclusion, bring your weight forward, release the tuck of the toes, and give the toes a break to just roll out, giving relief to the feet that we're just stretching. And now we're going to point the feet and try to sit back onto the feet in this direction. If this is already intense, this one starts to stretch the front of the ankles. So if this is intense, again, you can keep some weight forward. If you can stand to have all of your weight sitting onto your pointed toes, I'm going to guide you into a nice ankle stretch to get you a little bit deeper. Right hand drops off to the right side to help you stay propped up. Left hand grabs the left knee. And as you start to lift that left knee up and lean your weight backwards, the ankle stretch definitely intensifies. So see if you can stand it here, breathing a few good, slow, deep breath cycles. And then release this side, switch it out, picking up the right knee. When you drop this one down, come back onto hands and knees, giving the feet another chance to roll out or maybe even pound it out, gently pounding one foot and then the other. What that does is help blood flow back into the feet, so it helps it feel really good for that recovery. So when that feels satisfying, take a seated position, staff pose, both legs extending long in front of you. You're welcome to have your hands supporting you from the sides or even from behind as we allow our feet to point and flex. Point and flex. Now, if you can even sit tall without the use of the hands, that's welcome as well. Pointing and flexing. See if you can flex so much that the heels are lifting off the ground just a little bit. 3 more of these. Beautiful. Now both feet together are going to trace 5 circles clockwise. So imagine there's a huge paintbrush at the ends of the toes. Both circles go right, down, left, and up. 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse it counterclockwise. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Amazing. Now keep the feet flexed. Circle the arms up to the sky and take a nice forward fold, trying to grab onto the feet if at all possible. If not, you're keeping the feet flexed as deeply as they can. Hold here for a little while in the flexed position. And then after a few breaths, we'll eventually head toward a pointed toe position. Flexing right now, really try to set the calves down and the hamstrings, using that flex to bring us into a depth that maybe we're not used to so much. And now begin to point them. If you can reach your feet, your hands are going to go on the top edges of the feet to try to help point the toes down even deeper. Release and rise. Now left foot swivels in, and then right leg tries to have the shin stack on top of the other. What this will do is expose this right foot so we can begin to massage it. If you can't quite make the cross, go as wide as you need to just get some access to the right foot. So from here, I'll guide you through a little massage. Know that if there's spots that feel tender today, stick in that spot for a little while. So let's start off at the toes. I like to do little circles all around each toe, using my thumbs. Good, as that feels complete, move on to the ball of the foot. So maybe thumbs will work, or if circles tends to be really helpful, but if you're starting to introduce strokes, that's where we'll start to move into. So you can try that out here, see if that feels really nice. Getting all around that ball of the foot, so that huge pad right after the toes. Good, working through the inner arch. This one I specifically like to do long, heavy strokes, trying to press nice and firm. Good, from here as I go onto the outer arch, I like to use pinching motions. So take one of your hands, use the thumb and the first finger to kind of pinch against the skin and pull it inward before you release. And again, other motions that feel good, you're welcome to do as well. This is just what I tend to like right here, right now. Now, when we get to the heels, it's really personal preference. Some people like the circles, some people like the pinches, some people like the strokes. So just play with it for a moment and see what part of your heel needs the attention and see how you can give it to it with your fingers. here, release the foot and start to bring the hands to the ground, sliding the hands forward, a simple stretch for the back and the legs. Good, as we rise back up, switch the feet out. Now it's left on top. We're going to go with that massage, so start off with the toes. Squeezes and circles for each and every toe. Sometimes I'll keep one hand on the big toe the whole time, and the other hand will work down all the other toes. Just because the big toe does a lot of work to keep us in balance. People who have lost their big toes, their balance is definitely affected. It makes a huge difference. And when you're ready to move on to the ball of the foot, maybe it's circles, maybe you're starting to introduce strokes. Just notice what feels good. The inner arch, definite long strokes, even pushing into it as I stroke upward. I use my thumbs for that long direction. When we head onto the outer arch, that pinching motion can feel really nice. I'll start off on one part that's higher up, go through that whole range, squeezing, and then move one finger distance further down. And then just continue to walk my way down that arch. Good. When you finish that, move on to the heel. Again, the heel can be any of those types of motions. Even knuckles can feel really good. Shoving the knuckles into the heel and then wiggling them around. As you finish, drop your hands to the ground. See if you can slide them forward at all. And as we work our way back up, let's plant both feet on the ground, roll down onto our backs, and start to allow both legs to reach up to the sky. We don't want to do too much work here, so if the hands behind the thighs helps to make this more effortless, that's beautiful. What we're doing is helping some of the blood and lymph to drain out of the feet. The feet tend to get very swollen very quickly, especially if you're on your feet for large periods of the day. So what we're doing here is giving it a chance to drain it all out so that our feet itself, the tissues, can become much more comfortable than they've been perhaps all day, having practically zero blood pressure on them right now. Very calming, very relaxing for them. Other options here are to bring your legs up a wall. That makes it even more effortless. You just get to rest your legs on the wall. Or even sliding a block under the hips is an option to help the elevation be easier. But this is a perfectly fine option. We're not stressing about the hamstring stretch. We're not stressing about anything else. We're just letting our feet relax and have this kindness for them. Take about 5 more good breaths right here. And then bend the knees. Let the feet come down onto the ground. Knees can knock inward toward one another, resting on each other. So that way there's no muscular effort. But feel this connection of the feet back into the earth once again. It's a very calming, grounding, and soothing action to take. So as we're resting here for another minute or two, just as a kindness for our feet after all that they've done for us just now, I'm going to guide you through a short meditation, leave us with a couple of breaths, and then we'll wrap up the session we got to have together. And so imagine as you close your eyes, a golden light at the crown of the head starting to travel down the head, down the neck, down the heart, down the abdomen, down the hips, and all the way down the legs. And feel that golden light as it hits the feet. Feel how alive the feet suddenly become. It's like a healing energy is taken over. And the feet feel better than they have, maybe in decades. And imagine for a moment, a huge root, a golden root sprouts right out of the feet and plugs the feet down into the earth. And imagine that golden root traveling miles and miles down, finding something to interact with and to wrap around, something interesting, something that feels like it has a lot of energy, whether that's nutrient type of energy or almost like a crystalline energy. So maybe you found a place of fossil fuel to wrap around, or you found a cave of giant crystals, or maybe imagine even letting the feet travel all the way down into the center of the earth, wrapping around that golden, powerful core in the middle. So whatever you've wrapped around, imagine that this source is freely feeding energy up the roots. So receive the nutrients, feel them traveling up your roots. Up and up and up. And then notice that moment when all of a sudden it breaks through the earth and the energy travels directly into your feet. Feel the feet responding to that. Loving it, feeling it open. So we'll rest here for about 5 more slow breaths. See if you can make these the slowest breaths you've taken of the entire day. And imagine during those 5 breaths, the feet get to sip up all the rest of the nutrients that were available today, and that they are whole and complete and happy feet. Take those 5 slow breaths now. After that 5th breath, begin to introduce little movements back into the fingers, back into the toes. Sliding the legs long, stretch out like you're waking up first thing in the morning. Eventually roll over to a nice fetal position on one side. And rise up to a comfortable seated position. Hands joining together in front of the heart. We wrap up this wonderful time, this foot-focused time that we got to share together with the sound of a silent Om resonating through an entire exhale in your mind. Inhale together now. May we be filled with light and happiness and peace. Namaste.